Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making a deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Lime, or you understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Survivor Oz, Australia's #1 TV and film podcast, as we come to you for another Worlds Apart recap episode. Episode 10 is down the drain. Can you believe we've only got about a month to go of this season? It, as always, seems to go by quicker and quicker every season, but it is a pleasure to welcome back this week to discuss this week's episode of Survivor. Somebody who has been on this show plenty of times. He's a very good friend of ours here at Survivor Oz. Competed on the 24th season of Survivor One World. The one, the only, Troyzan Robertson. Troyzan, welcome back to Survivor Oz.
Hey, man, how's it going? How's it
well.
going down there in Tasmania, buddy?
It's good. It's a little bit wet at the moment. It's getting a bit cold. It's getting into our winter very soon. But other than that, can't complain. How about yourself? How is it over there in the US of A?
It's in Miami. It's cooking hot. I mean, we go from winter to summer instantly. So it's been 90 degrees, full humidity. But in New York, it's freezing. So I'm happy. I'm here.
That's why everybody goes to Miami, isn't it? Because you just have 2 days of winter and the rest is just summer all the year, right?
That's it, buddy. That's it. You walk around in a pair of shorts or maybe nothing.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's like you're on Survivor almost.
Well, pretty much.
Yes. Now, 30th season, Worlds Apart. As always, we generally start off the recaps, Troyzan, by just getting a general vibe on what you think of the season so far. So, how are you feeling about this season? 10 episodes in.
Well, I love it. I really do. I mean, I know it was hyped to be, the greatest Survivor, season of all time or something. But it's not the greatest of all time. But I really like people. It seems like there's a lot of characters in this season, and it seems like everyone is kind of playing. Mm-hmm. No one's just sitting back and doing nothing. So I like it. There's a lot of stuff happening, keeps my interest up. There's just enough drama to where everyone wants to watch. And I'd say I give it a good 8 out of 10 so far.
8 out of 10. There you go. I easily think this episode. It's good to have you on for this episode because this I think was the best one so far of the season. You said drama. That was the word you just used. I mean, we had a lot of drama this episode, Troyzan. A lot to cover, but as it gets to this point of the season, you would know from when you were on One World that emotions can get a little bit high, so people can have some outbursts, and we had a few outbursts this episode, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, I know how they're feeling because it's funny because when you play on day one, day two, you think, oh yeah, I'm fine. I can check my emotions. I can be a certain way. I can do this. This is like what day 20. What did they say? 7 or something like that? I don't know.
Right about there. Yeah, 27.
Yeah. And that many days sleeping with the same people, being hungry and tired, even though people see, us eating and challenges, for reward challenges thing, you're really not eating that much. Every 3 days, maybe you might go for a food challenge, and if you win it. So you really are getting hungry and you're just getting fed up. And what happens is your personality just takes over. If you are mad at someone, guess what? You're not holding anything back. So it's like, Rodney will blow up at Mike. Mike will do what he wants to do. Everyone's, Dan starts to get emotional. People start, your real emotions start to take over your real personality. You can't hold it back. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing, but Survivor does it to you. Your true emotions, whoever you are, really starts to come out, especially right towards the end here.
Well, I mean, we saw that all too well with you, of course. And it was around about here where you kind of went. I mean, you went out on day 30, didn't you? So,
yeah, went out day 30, full guns a-blazing, buddy.
Well, it's actually, we've talked a little bit about this recently. I completed, I think, about my third or fourth rewatch of your season recently, and just love it to bits every time I watch it. Keep going strong. And I think a good connection to One World to this season, not only because it's got the word world in the title. I'm stretching it a little bit more here, Troyzan, but we had Lynn Spielman on the show just before this season started, and I asked her the question, what was her favourite cast that she's had. She brought up your season because you guys pretty much are the closest cast that she's ever seen, but then she added that this cast is probably right up there with your cast as being the closest, like they're still all very close with each other outside of the shows. So I'm not sure if you were aware of that, but these guys are quite close with each other.
Well, I wasn't quite sure of that. I just, but what I see on the show, I can kind of see that no one's really getting too angry at each other as far as like, I mean, the only thing that really got a little bit, I don't know, probably outside the game is like Will kind of getting off on Shirin, basically saying stuff that has nothing to do with the game in a sense. But then again, I always have to take in editing where, sometimes we don't get to see every last little thing. I mean, Shirin could really be saying a whole lot of things that's just driving him out of his mind and everybody else that we just don't see, and then it looks like, Will's just being a complete jerk and, calling her names and saying stuff about her family and about her way that she was raised and this and that. But yeah, I think this cast, they do look really close. No one's going to be as close as our cast. we're all buddies for life now. And it's funny that you watch One World because the more seasons that go by, I get more and more people saying, "Hey, I'm watching your season, or I'm rewatching your season again. I'm really enjoying it." So I think it's actually going from like towards the bottom in the beginning. It's making its way back up towards the top of some people's lists. So I'm actually happy about that. We did, because we had quite a few characters on our show as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the Tarzans and Colton and, some crazy guy yelling, "This is my island," going out of his mind.
Who was that? I don't know. I must have missed that bit. But I think, I mean, there are some seasons that initially are disliked and, over time seem to be more respected. And the thing with One World is, I think I put a post up when I was watching it on Twitter just saying, like, how can people not like this season? Because to me, it's such a good season, and people probably listening to this are thinking I'm just sucking up to you, Troyzan, but go back and listen to some other episodes recently where I've talked up the love of One World, and you're talking about the characters, like, even the, quote, forgettable characters that people sort of joke about are not that memorable. I think they all have their moments, and to me, I think it is, from a new season with no returning players, one of, if not the most complete cast, I think, in the last 10 or so seasons from a new player's standpoint.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just sucking up now. I'm just giving you guys.
No, that's okay. No. I mean, I know you've told me in the past that you really like One World. So it's like I believe you. It's like, like I said, we had a lot of. I mean, there was one girl I really would have loved to seen how Courtney was, because she was a real character and she still is. And it's just too bad she broke her wrist on, episode 1. But she was a character, Cat, of course, Crazy Cat, she's a nutball. There's Colton, there's Tarzan. I mean, it's like Little Leaf running around. He's
movie star Leaf right now. Can we just point that out? Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Did you know he was in that?
He is. No, I haven't talked to him lately. So he's in Mall Cop. Really?
Yeah. Mini Kiss have a cameo, and there's no spoilers. There's like a scene when he's in an elevator, basically, and I stayed for the credits afterwards, and there's his name right up on the screen, Mini Ace Froley, Leaf Manson. So movie star Leaf.
Yeah, wow, okay, well, that's good.
If people haven't an excuse to go see Paul Blart Mall Cop 2...
well, yeah. I think I'll wait for it on DVD.
I was going to say, the only people buying tickets are Survivor fans right now, Troyzan. So, but I mean, I think we should start probably with Will, because like the thing with the situation with Will and what he said with Shirin, from the last 24 hours or so, he's getting a lot of criticism on social media. Like, people are really ripping him a new one, to put it nicely. I mean, he obviously overstepped a line with what he was saying. As you said, he kind of started saying things that were sort of not in-game, and it was obviously a very awkward situation. But do you feel like, as we were kind of talking about, you get emotions take the better of you at a certain point of the game? So I'm sure Will's probably watching that now going, wow, what the hell was I thinking? That's a little bit too far. I mean, do you feel for Will in a little bit in that situation, given the backlash he's getting now?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously Will is watching it now, and this is like, a whole, whatever, maybe year has gone by since he's actually, filmed it. So but like I said, like when you're out there and someone's really irritating the hell out of you, like Alicia on my season, she said something to me for, a few times, and I just blew up on her, it's like, but that was just one particular incident of like, whatever, a couple hours out of the day, where when you're watching as a TV viewer, you think it's like, this is, like the whole episode, or you blow it up bigger than what it is, Sharon, could have really been saying a lot of things that we didn't see to him. So then maybe that's why he was so like, listen, I don't want to hear what you have to say. And he was, even at Tribal, I just felt like, he could have been a little more, I don't know. He just seemed like he didn't really give a crap about what she had to say, with her past and her family, and why she, reacts the way she does, and she was abused and all of this stuff, verbally abused, and and by him, and he doesn't realize he, in a sense, did make a mistake by offering people all the food, because the thing is, in Survivor, and he doesn't know this, but in Survivor, you're never paid back ever for the good deeds that you do. You're always questioned all the time, because paranoia is at its height. So he would have been better off just to say nothing. It's fine. It's Survivor. It's not, you're not out there on a goodwill, sorry for the pun, tour. It's like, you're out there to win. No one would have known about the food. Once you bring it up, they're like, well, what else is there? Everyone starts to question, well, what, is there more food? There has to be some clue. He's not telling us everything. That always happens. You watch it every season. People don't trust anybody. So it's like trying to, if you go off by yourself someplace and you come back with something, people will always question it. So Sharon had the right to question him, and he just, he went off, and, probably from some past stuff. I don't know. She said that he was religious or whatever, and preaching this and that, and he just seemed like, I don't know, a lot of times it's the typical, religious ones that are on the show that are so hypocritical. They sit around all season long and they preach their shit all throughout every single day, and then all of a sudden they become, hypocrites, and they'll say something jerky or they'll say something bad and they act like it's nothing. It's no big deal. I did not like the way he acted at Tribal Council, though.
Yeah, there was kind of like a moment he could have apologized, I think, at that point.
He was like, I'm not, I'm not backing down, and it's like, he just, and that's his edit. Those are his words, so, he has to live with it. He said what he said. So, I didn't like it. I don't really like what he's about. Only because I don't like hypocrites, and I don't like people that bring stuff into the game that has zero to do with the game. Nothing. It's like, it's kind of like when Colton made Chinese eyes with Christina.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with the game. That's not a strategy. Unless your strategy is like, I want to make this person so angry that they blow up so that everyone votes them out. Well, okay, I can see that as a strategy. But when you do kind of personal attacks or start talking about somebody's past and private stuff that we've talked about on the beach that really doesn't have anything to do with playing a game, then I'd say, because it's like you got to treat it like if we were all playing Monopoly. Hey, I can do anything that I want in that game. I can take your money if you land on my hotel. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want while I'm playing. But if I start talking about your past and your personal life, then now you're not playing the game anymore.
Yeah,
you're just being mean.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with strategy. So that's what I don't like. And I think other people that watch it, and even other survivors that have played, will say the same thing.
I thought at the challenge when he sort of when Jeff was asking questions, and he kind of stood up and started saying that things were bad. I thought that was a moment where he was actually about to apologise and sort of step up and say, hey, look, I was a bit mean to Shireen, I want to do this, but obviously it turned out for him to try and sit out to get his letter, and then we saw Shireen put the hand up to prevent him from getting that. Did you think that was the right move then from Shireen in terms of revenge, but socially, I guess that could have...
Oh, for me, if I'm Shireen, I'm putting that hand, I'm raising it up, and I'm actually putting up my middle finger right in his face. That's how I'm raising that my hand. 100%, buddy. I'm like, you think that you get the a pass on reaming me for the whole time, and now you want to come back and you want a letter? Like, you had your chance, buddy. Sorry, I'm putting my hand up and I'm putting my finger up in your face. Seriously, I stood up and I pumped my fist when she did that. I'm like, yeah, take that, you piece of shit.
Now I want to see that happen. But it's interesting because, I mean, we saw it a lot last season, and now we're seeing it a little bit here, that people are so willing to barter and try and trade things with Jeff. I mean, we even saw #traded Jeffs, didn't we, in the auction? Like, was there any times during One World where anybody tried to barter with Jeff, even if it was a bit silly like?
No, it's almost like, it's like, Jeff out there, in a sense, to us, especially when you're a new player. You don't know Jeff. Jeff looks like some all-star, a rock star over there. You see him every season. He's a celebrity. So, it's when you see him, it's like, wow, that's Jeff. And when he talks, it's like, the Survivor god is talking. So, like, I'm not going to barter with Jeff. He's going to look at us and just ream us. I mean, he says stuff to us that, like, never would make it on the air. I mean, he cusses at us, and he's like, are you effing kidding? I'm not going to do that. And it's like, what game do you think we're playing? Sometimes, like Troyzan made a request. He wanted bug spray. And I just look at him sideways, like, are you kidding? Like, what?
Well, we saw that, didn't we, with him at Tribal Council? Was it the one where he asked and he revealed the final votes, and Jeff's like, no.
Yeah, right. He's like raising his hand. He's like, can I? No. And so Jeff, it's almost like Jeff kind of puts down the rules, from day one, in a sense. So you get the feeling like if I ask Jeff a question, everyone's going to look at me, and kind of in a sense, I have a weird target on my back as well for asking some stupid question, So, yeah, but there's this bartering this year. It's like, especially at the auction, to me, it's like, once something's bought, that's it. It's an auction, it's not like, but, I don't know. Maybe Jeff's thinking to make this more interesting, to really stir up some stuff. Sure, I'll listen to what you got to say. To say. I'll go over it in my mind. But yeah, it's a little funny about this bartering thing in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't set a I mean, we were kind of worried about that last season. I feel that with the whole trading for Flint and trading all this, that it was just going to set something for the future seasons. And look, I'm not saying that kind of Will's move was based off, last season, because I don't know how much of a fan Will is of Survivor. But, yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I'm glad, like, with the auction that you mentioned too, I mean, the bartering situation there, of course, with Shireen, and then sort of mentioning that with the letters. And, I mean, it wasn't necessarily bartering as such. It was kind of clever by her to say, look, if we want them, Jeff will say whatever the highest bid is, everyone can buy it. So that went for $20. The way Shireen handled that, I mean, do you think that was sort of just a fair way of playing? I mean, that was a nice way to everybody get their letters and afford them?
I guess so, yeah. And obviously, they want people to get their letters, because that's a big emotional thing, to get a letter. It's good on camera to show people up close with tears in their eyes, So, he wants us to get those letters, believe me, as many people as possible. So, in our season, only 2 got them. Mm-hmm. Alicia bought hers instantly, and then, Jeff turned to Troyzan and said, if you want yours, you can buy it for the same amount. That kind of thing. So anybody that actually had the same amount probably could have bought their letter, but nobody did. And I was holding out. I wasn't going to buy my letter.
I can imagine that's a hard situation, because it's emotional. You've been away from your family, and we obviously know how hard that would be. But I mean, I'm guessing for someone like yourself, who at that time was in such a position that you needed to get that advantage, which you got, that clearly was a hard moment for you not to be able to get that letter.
It's really difficult because it's more difficult if you feel like you're alone and you're playing by yourself and you watch everyone else kind of smugly buy, food, taking showers, laughing, giggling. They're like, because they really don't, they really don't care about, what you have or don't have. And you're watching all this. It's making you more and more like, angry because you can't have in the fun of eating because you have to wait for a clue because you have to win because they'll vote you out in a second, and it doesn't matter what you say or what you do, they really don't care, and that makes it even worse. So and plus the fact that you really don't grasp how much you miss your family out there because 30 days seems like more like 3 months. You're cut off from society. You're cut off from radio and television, newspaper, anything. And I didn't see an airplane, a jet ski, a boat, or nothing for all the days that I was there. So and you're cut off basically from the time you leave Los Angeles. So it's more than just the days that you're playing. So you really start to really miss your family. That's the closest thing to you. So once you even hear words, that there's words on paper that's going to speak to you, you lose it. I mean, when Dan started to get emotional instantly, I could feel that. I mean, like you all feel like that. It's every season. Some people are like, I don't know how they get so sad and they get so emotional. It's just it's hard to explain. It's when you're deprived of of everything, of sleep and food and all these things, and you're actually with people that you associate with, but you're not so much you really like them a lot, while you're playing. So when you hear the word family, instant tears come to your eyes because it's going to be something good and positive, and you need that. It's a bit more than food even. So for me to have it turn it down was even more frustrating.
And then I guess the frustrating thing too is you're voted out. What's the next reward challenge? Family visit.
Yeah, well then that makes it even worse because then they tell you when you're voted out, you go back to Ponderosa and they say your brother is here on this island, and I'm like, what? And it's even worse because he was like there in the same place. Which even makes you actually angrier at everybody because then you're like, you really, really don't give a shit about me. Yeah. It's the feeling that you get. Everyone, I cannot to this day watch the family visit from our show.
Wow.
From our season. I don't watch it. I haven't watched it.
It's kind of, I mean, we've talked a lot on this show to sort of people whose loved ones have come out. I think we interviewed Chris Doherty's wife, Laurie, and she was sort of explaining to us when she was flown out there. I can't remember who it was on Vanuatu whose loved one just missed out on their visit, but yeah, she was basically explaining the whole situation and how they reacted and all this sort of stuff because, clearly they have to fly out a certain amount of people, and by the time they fly them out, one of you's going to be gone, and so... Yeah, and that obviously was your brother. I mean, he got a free holiday out of it, I guess, in a way, didn't he?
Well, he did. And the thing is, too, they all become close as well. But the family members that are traveling with each other, they travel with each other for, 10 days or 12, 14 days, maybe. They start off in L.A., and then they went to Hawaii, and then some got cut loose in Hawaii because, sorry, your guy got voted out. And then everyone flew to, Fiji. And then someone got cut and someone went home. And then from Fiji, they went to Samoa. So, the last, I think, 8 or 9 family members are all there, waiting. And it's disappointing for them because they have to come down the next day to breakfast. Everyone's sitting there, by the way, your brother got voted out last night. It's just devastating for the family member even.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's the chance that you take. It's part of the game, and that's what I've realized. When I've talked to my brother several times, I said, I want to know that you're okay. He goes, I'm okay. He goes, I want you to be okay as well. I know we're only an hour from each other probably. He's at some hotel and I'm in the other part of the island. So, I said, But we might get our second chance again one day, buddy. So just stay tuned.
Very nearly happened on Blood vs. Water, of course. Like it just keeps happening there, Troy.
We were a week away, man. A week away.
Yes. Well, who knows? That opportunity could come another time. Who knows? But I mean, with the auction, of course, the key talking point there, clearly Mike and the whole letter situation. The turnaround, he went back on his deal before kind of going back on that again. It was kind of a move that really, if there was a move that you could do to really fuck your game up, that probably would be it. And if Mike doesn't win this season, that could possibly be the moment that cost him. I mean, what was your take on Mike doing what he did?
Well, I mean, I had a feeling he was going to do the old snake move and get the clue. Because in his mind, before he was doing it, probably thinking, well, this is Survivor. These are my friends, and there are certain people with me, but I am going home. So guess what? I will do whatever it takes to not go home. And if that's what it takes, I'm going to do it. So he should have, if you're going to make a move, make the move and stick to it. You don't go back on it, because then you've just lost twice. First of all, now you don't have the clue, whatever you wanted, and now no one trusts you. So it's you just screwed yourself up twice. So if you know what I'm saying, and so he should have just, if he was going to buy the clue, by a sneak move, a sneak attack, stick with that and pay the consequences afterwards and say, listen, it's something that I felt like I needed to do, because he still had to explain himself like why he did it.
Well, that's exactly it, because I think that no matter what you do in that situation, it's going to be a bad social move. But yeah, like, you're absolutely right. Like, at least if he had stuck to his guns, I mean, there's an argument in there for a jury. Like, look, I played this game and I had to do this to get the clue and all this sort of stuff, and might talk him way out of it. But like, it was just an interesting situation, because how it all started, we saw him overhearing Rodney talking, with their Secret 4 alliance. And then sort of he gets back to camp and he sort of explains the situation. And then we had Rodney going off. And Rodney was absolutely right, because at that point, Rodney actually hadn't flipped. So, like, Mike's sort of calling this out. And Rodney's like, well, hang on a minute. You heard us, but who's flipped? No one's flipped yet. So, I mean, Mike really... Well,
but Rodney is targeting Mike. I mean, he is. So, whether... he's outright said it or it's been said out there. I mean, Mike felt what he felt. When you feel something out there, you feel that we might have not seen every last little thing. There might have been other instances where he's seen Rodney doing some sneaky things. He knew he was going to be voted out. I mean, it was obvious. So in his mind, he should have just said, listen, I'm going for it. I this is what I'm going to do. And you can always explain yourself afterwards, but it's like I said, once you make a move in Survivor, you have to, you pay the consequences. It's like Will, telling everyone, I found this food and here's the food. Well, you're going to pay a consequence of that, whether it's a good deed or not, so you're not paid back for being good. And you can always explain yourself later down the road. And if you make it to a final 3, that's a good explanation. He's like, listen, I'm playing this game. This is a game. You can tell people I'm playing a game. This has nothing to do with, our personal lives. I'm playing, a game here. So, and if he really needed to do that, he should have just stuck with it. Now he's screwed himself really bad, because he's like, a person that people are thinking, I can't trust this guy. He's saying one thing, doing another. But, again, when you're out there, you're tired, your brain's not working 100%.
Yes, well, that's a slight problem with that. But, I mean, up until that point, what's sort of been your take on how Mike has played this season?
I think he's played okay. I think a lot of time, I think Mike has been lucky in a sense, in some ways. It's a bit, lucky to be to start out on a tribe that wins a lot. So that's a huge plus. And that's kind of lucky in a sense that you've got the right people, on your tribe. It's not strategy that he didn't choose who he gets to play with in the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. He doesn't seem like the most intelligent guy, but he's kind of going along. He's not, he doesn't seem like Mr. Super Strategy, compared to people in past seasons. I like the guy. He seems like kind of as far as like looking for the idol and listening in on conversations, he's a bit like Tony, but he's not Tony, but he's a bit like him as far as like kind of street smarts in a sense, got the woods jungle smarts. He's like listens. I got a feeling he listens in on conversations from a distance. Tries to figure out, when he found the idol, that was a smart move.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a likable guy. I mean, he's not the most intelligent, like eating like whatever the hell he ate in like
Scorpion.
episode 1 or 2. What did he eat?
He had a scorpion, and then he was licking ants off a tree.
Like, bro, you gotta use your use your common sense a little bit.
Yes. I mean, this thing could kill you, but you're going to eat it.
I'm just, I know it's Survivor and everyone's all excited because it's Survivor and they think it's like, some kind of, Navy SEAL operation where it's like we're going into, the starvation mode. This is day 1 or 2. You're not starving yet. You don't have to eat a scorpion.
Yeah,
if you can just do it because I'm on Survivor, man. I'm gonna get naked. And I'm gonna eat weird shit, and go crazy.
Well, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of people this season do things that is going to guarantee them screen time. I mean, Max getting naked and Mike eating scorpions, and then Dan's quote saying like, "You will remember me when you watch this season." So
well, people will remember Dan. He definitely is a character. I mean, and I like Dan. I mean, I like watching him just because he keeps the season on his toes. I mean, if I ask people, I'm going to tell you a person from this season, Dan, they instantly know who Dan is, instantaneously. Yeah. So that's a person, whether you like it or not. Like, look, if it's like Russell Hantz back in the day. If I said Russell, people like instantly know who that name, So it's he will be remembered, from this season.
Well, it's between whenever you mention the word Survivor Dan, he's got a tough field of Dan Lembo, Dan Lou, Dan Kay. Like, there's not exactly the most memorable people called Dan in the history of Survivor as well. But that pays out well for him.
But Postal Man Dan, they're gonna definitely remember. But he looks like a character too. I mean, just the way he looks.
Yes. No offense, I will say to Dan Lou, Dan Lembo, and Dan Kay, we love you here at Survivor. But I mean, it's I guess from your perspective, because like, I mean, pre-game Dan said in a lot of his videos that like, there's never been a person who's tried to get on Survivor as much as me. I've travelled, thousands of kilometres. I am a super fan. We all know your story of how much of a fan you were to get on the show. And is it hard when you're out there and you've got, all this new stuff, cameras in front of your face, you're living your dream? Is it kind of hard at the start to really put that fandom aside and not play up to the cameras at the start?
Yeah, it's a little difficult because, well, for one, all the super fans are. I mean, I'm a fan. I don't know if I would categorize myself as a super fan because I think super fans are the ones that are like, they're on every single website. They know every last detail about, Challenge 1 on season 4.
Host pointless podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like that. I'm a fan to watch it and to really like to see how it's lived, And so when I finally got out there, I'm like, wow, this is what it's like on TV in a sense. I mean, I see it, I see the Survivor flags, I see the buffs, but the camera guys, you're not used to it first, and you don't see that on TV at all. So you don't realize there's 4 cameras in your tribe, and plus there's there's sound guys too. It's not just one camera guy; it's a team of 3, and and there's 4 of them. So there's a lot of extra people, and like by day maybe 6, they become like trees because they don't say anything to you, so you get used to it. But it's weird to get used to the production part of it, and it doesn't seem so much like Survivor. So you're kind of like, wow, yeah, okay, I'll talk on camera, or I know every little last thing that I do is going to be shot. That's what you're really aware of it. But by day 6 or 7, you're like, you're not aware that you're being filmed and recorded all the time. Like you'll say certain things and you don't realize that you're being shot anymore. You just become yourself. And so, yeah, it's a bit strange to get used to. There's a lot of like Dan, he's trying, and I think Sharon is a big fan. Joe was a big fan of the show. So, yeah, I think sometimes when you're a super fan, you're like, wow, now I'm going to really, and Max taught a class on Survivor. Yeah. So, when you get out there, you're probably thinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. This is Survivor, my only thing was like, I want to do everything that has to do with Survivor. I want to win challenges. I want to strategize. I want to find an immunity idol. I want to swim in the ocean and spear a fish. I want to start a fire with my bare hands. All of these Survivor things. I want to, and I basically, and I said this in my Fallen Heroes little speech, that I basically did get to do everything that I went down there to do. I achieved everything except I didn't get to see my brother. The only thing that I missed. If I would have seen my brother, I would have said, okay, my Survivor experience was as full as it got. I won challenges. I won the first immunity necklace, which is huge to me, the very first one. I found an idol. I made good alliances. I just did everything that I really wanted to do. And I still look back and go, if I'm luckier than so many other survivors as far as like to have the experience that I had, as opposed to the ones if you go on day 5 or 6 or even 10 or 11, it's just, you don't get as much out of it. So the people that last, they should count their blessings, even if they get in what they call a bad edit, they should still be like, I'm still, on this show, and I'll be known 2 or 3 years from now, that that's Joe from, Worlds Apart. Of course I know who that guy is,
unless your name is Sierra, because apparently there's somebody called Sierra on this season, Troyzan. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, no, there is a Sierra. She didn't get a whole lot of time. But I don't know what, maybe she, the thing is, sometimes people just aren't very good on camera. They just don't have a lot to say. And they, production doesn't realize till they actually get out there and they're in the game, so if they don't have a lot to say, they're not going to put them on film a lot, and they're kind of like put aside. I mean, she's still in the game. I mean, she might be one of these things that go all the way to the end, and like people are like, well, she didn't upset anybody, she didn't do all, like, I'll give her my vote, because the other people piss me off so much, and all of a sudden she ends up winning. Like, who's that?
Who was on your
She's kind of cute though. I have to say that.
I'm not going to say anything bad about the way she looks. I completely agree with you there. But I remember going into the game. I remember in our preview episode when we were talking about her, she gave me some Kim Spradlin vibes in a preview video. But I was completely wrong about any close relation to it all to the one and only Kim Spradlin.
It's funny that you said that, because when she talks sometimes, and I look at her, she could be a Kim Spradlin's sister. Although Kim is a Kim Wolf now, so.
Yes, well, exactly. Sorry, yes,
but
Kim Wolf.
What a perfect name, right? Kim Wolf.
Yes. Well, if she ever goes back onto Survivor, that's going to be like, oh, hang on a minute, Kim Wolf. Wait, we might need to keep an eye on her.
Kim the Wolf.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but she does. But Sierra does. She has some similar looks to Kim. Even the way she talks as well. Yeah. It's too bad she's not as strategic.
Well, we can't have anybody knocking Kim off.
Or it's too bad she's not as lucky.
Yes. Well, maybe, who knows? I mean, with the whole Dan situation, and I mean, obviously with Mike, he didn't get the he went for the advantage, and Dan gets it. It's 2 votes. This is the twist. You get 2 votes to use. What's your take on this new twist?
It's just tough, because it's like one of those things where, No, has Dan told anybody that he's
he hasn't told anybody, but it looks like next week he gets it discovered. Like I think Tyler finds it in his bag or something next week. So
right. Well, I mean, it is what happens is that, you know, if it comes down to where someone's going to play their idol, whether like Mike or Carolyn, I think those are the two that have idols right now, right?
Yeah.
And word gets out, or say Mike goes, you know, Mike feels like he needs to apologize or really get Dan back on stage. Like, hey man, I got an idol, you know. And then if Dan realizes someone's going to play an idol, because usually in camp it's talked about way more than they show of really who's going home. It's almost like, you know, there are blind sides, but people know about the blind sides. You know, the only person that doesn't know is the person that's getting blindsided. But it's kind of almost like a given who's going in. They throw it all around and like, oh yeah, we don't know who, because watching, you're like, God, I wonder who's going home. But in reality, everyone in that tribal council knows. And so Dan can use it to his advantage, because sometimes when they do the split, it does really come down to like one vote. So, you know, that could be big for him, you know, to send somebody home and just unexpectedly. It's like all of a sudden, like, boom. And he's got to play it right before he says, I'm going to go read the votes, right? So he's going to be like... Yeah, everyone goes to vote first, and then he'll say, I'm going to read. He goes, oh, by the way, I want to give one more vote. Yeah. And everyone just craps right there, like, oh, shit.
Yeah, which is an interesting way of doing it, because we were talking about that last night on our recap episode, and, you know, we were thinking, like, well, wouldn't it not just make sense that he just goes up and just puts two votes in at the same time? Like, I mean, I know they're doing it for dramatic effect, I guess. But
yeah, I think, well, yeah, it would make more sense that he could just put two, and then, but then it doesn't really have any effect, because then people... When he's reading the votes,
they don't know. Yeah,
they're not really counting. Like they're not. At that point, they're not counting. Like, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, wait. There's an extra vote. Where'd that vote will come from?
Yeah,
they have to do it. It makes more sense and TV sense to like have Dan stand up. Oh, by the way, I got another secret vote. You know,
hashtag twist.
With yeah. Hashtag second vote. Hashtag match.
Yes.
Hashtag like didn't Tony get some magical?
Oh, what do you? Yeah, they
some magical idol or some shit.
Oh, the Tyler Perry idol. Yes. Yeah. Which was just a rehash of an idol we had back in like Cook Islands and Panama.
Yeah, they'll always come up with something, you know. Yeah. So it's like, you know, but it keeps the audience interested. I mean, obviously, the people at CBS, Jeff Probst, casting, Lynn Spillman, you know, SEG, they know what they're doing. This show's been on, you know, for 30 seasons, you know, for a reason. They really must, you know, they really know what they're doing, you know, and it's been a top, you know, 20, top 10 show for all these times. And they still have a big audience and a big following. And a big following worldwide. So, you know, they know how to stir stuff up. You know, they know the right things to do. So this second vote thing is smart, you know.
It's a simple idea. Like, it's such a simple idea. Like, I know Jeff said pre-season that, you know, this is a twist that they've wanted to use for a long time and they've finally used it. But, like, when you kind of think about it, like, it's like, well, yeah, that's a twist that they should try, and it's taken 30 seasons for them to do it. Like, it's a simple twist. It doesn't need that much explaining, does it?
Well, sometimes that twist could be actually in the season, but it doesn't turn out with the characters and whoever, so they throw it out. Yeah. So we never even see it. I'm just taking a guess. Like, that could have been, you know, in any one of the last 4 or 5 seasons, but it wasn't the right time. There was no auction, or there wasn't, you know, there just wasn't the right characters to have that. So they thought, like, you know, hey, we've got this person. Most likely, since we have, you know, people that know how to play the game, they're going to go for this clue. The right people are going to go for this clue. So if person A, B, C, or D gets it, then we're fine with it. Yeah. Or they couldn't have done that in the past seasons. You know, so it makes sense to to throw it out now. So yeah, that stuff we don't see, but so it's just people like, oh, it just came out now when it could have easily come out last season or the season before.
Yeah,
you know.
And it's something
they can do that with challenges too. They can change the challenge. They could change the challenge around to where it's like, you know, they want to challenge 1 to be challenge 1, but now it's challenge 10 instead.
Yeah, and I know for a fact too, like with some seasons, like there'll be moments or twists that they do use, but because it doesn't affect the game. Like I know in Pearl Islands there was an offer of mutiny, like they did in Thailand and of course in Cook Islands famously, but nobody mutinied and it had no bearing on the season, so it was never shown. And we've had seasons where, say, there've been ties at Tribal Council, but they've never shown it. I think there was one in Micronesia from memory, and trying to think there was another season where there was a tie but they didn't air it, so I mean that's sort of slightly different, but it sort of comes through interviews like on our shows and commentaries and stuff like that.
It has to work out too. It's like, so for example, if when we decided to go we won immunity, but we wanted to go to Tribal Council.
yes, so I remember that well, Troyzan. Yes.
Everybody does. It's like the first time.
I will say I did put that as the #1 dumbest move in the history of Survivor, but that was on our top 10 list. Visit survivorlist.com. But anyway.
So say that never worked out. Like the rule was, and this is just the rule that they have. Probably the rule that they just made up while they're out there because it's never happened. Everybody agrees. All 8 of you have to agree on this. Then we'll do it. If one of us, so say they did the whole thing, and one or two said, "No, I'm not doing it," They would have probably never even shown it. They would have it would have been completely edited out. They would have switched over and had the girls camp talking about who they're gonna vote out, and then the girls would have went to Tribal, and that would have been the show. They wouldn't have even shown, us considering that.
Yeah. It's so, like, this is why I love doing this show, because, like, I get to hear all these behind the... as a fan, like, it fascinates me as well. Like, I know for a fact, of course, Fiji, famously, we had the whole Dreams Yowman deal, and Yowman apparently went to give his necklace up... Dreams went to give his necklace up, to Yowman before they went to Tribal Council, but the producer said, no, do it at Tribal Council, so it's for, like, dramatic effect, and by then, Dreams changed his mind and didn't give up the necklace. So, again, like, these things we don't see, and would have affected the game. Had you guys not given up immunity, the girls go to Tribal Council, completely different game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and no one would have known anything,
Until you come on shows like this, Troyzan, and spill the secrets.
Exactly.
Without getting sued by CBS. We don't want that happening.
We can pretty much say, if you can find me a person that has been sued by CBS, then I want to hear it.
Well, look, we'll start pushing some buttons here, Troyzan, and see what else we can get away with.
I've never said anything that's like that they don't that no one else has said. So it's like,
well, there are rumors about certain seasons, Troyzan, but no, we won't bring that up. We've got some list of questions that I'll get to in just a moment, and of course have our final 5. But Jen goes home ultimately at the end. What was your take on Jen? Because she was an interesting character that had a bit of a roller coaster ride, I guess you would say, in this season.
I like Jen's little spark. She had like she had at her moments of like being a fighter, but I don't know her story, how she got on the show, because if a person is like ready to bail out, that means that they really weren't into it in the beginning, and maybe they were chosen, off the street, or they were, they didn't apply like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, but she was a little spark plug. She's kind of cute running around. I enjoyed her tank top.
Yes. And we enjoyed her nude swimming with Haley, of course.
Yeah, that was a giant plus. I wasn't sure if she was going home or not. I think, it was. She was an interesting one. I just think that she. I don't know. I'm just trying to put my finger on it. It's like one minute I thought she was like really strategic, and the next minute I'm thinking, nah, she didn't really even want to be there. She just kind of like she just wants to, be there long enough because people are pissing her off, and it's like, one of those kind of deals.
Yeah, and it's like there were several weeks there where it really looked like she was in a very good position to win, but as soon as Hayley went, she kind of, sort of just wanted to go home. And we even saw that last week when Joe went home, that she was like, damn it, she didn't get voted out. I think it's the first time I've ever seen someone on Survivor like go, damn it, I didn't get voted out.
Yeah, I know. It's like, so to me, like, that's kind of like, it's almost like a lot of times the young girls that are on the show, they kind of, end up being together, like Hayley and Jen. And once your friend is gone, you're like, I don't even want to be with these people anymore. And you don't even see the big picture. But that leads me to believe that I don't know how much of a Survivor fan she actually was, Yeah. So she might, like I said, I got a feeling she wasn't like this huge fan. So in her mind, she's like, Hayley's gone. I'm in Illinois. Now Joe's gone. I don't care if I get voted. I just want to go back to Ponderosa and have real fun. I don't have to play the game anymore.
Yeah. Which, I mean, look, it's interesting with those type of people because, like, I mean, I don't think she's a fan. I don't want to say that she isn't a fan, but I mean, she, in her pre-game questions when they asked her who her favourite contestant of all time was, she said Kate, and we've never had a Survivor player called Kate. So she came out on Twitter and I think said that she meant Kim, but she couldn't remember her name, but for some reason they kept it still on the written form that she meant Kate. And it was Kate.
Maybe she meant Cat.
Hey, well, yeah, that too. Like, absolutely. I don't think anybody's ever said Cat before for that question, but still plenty of time.
Well, that's too funny.
Yes, there you go, Troy. Then you ever go back on, you can say Cat as your favourite player.
Yeah, exactly. A good old Cat. People are like, what?
What the hell?
Just trying to keep me on your toes, everybody.
Yes. Now, just actually a couple of ones I should mention that we haven't really brought up. Rodney, we talked about a little bit. What's your take on how Rodney's playing this game at the moment?
He's playing pretty good, but he gets so fired up, like so quick. He's the kind of guy. To win this game, you really need to check your emotions sometimes because people start to see that, and they get perturbed and like, this guy's, he's too much. You got to go. I mean, he kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, Although he's smart enough to know who like his biggest threats are, so he's at least contemplating to get rid of like Mike and get rid of and like bailing on the Blue Tribe and kind of like putting himself with Carolyn and Tyler, maybe thinking like he could beat them in challenges easier, although he hasn't really been much of a challenge guy. He's it's funny that he blows up so much and so quick, especially like with Mike. But in a sense, he blows up because he knows if someone blows up like that, people start to sense, like, if you're really innocent, you wouldn't be so crazy mad. You'd just be like, listen, bro, I don't know where you're coming. You're nuts. And you'd laugh it off and just walk away. Yeah. He just blows up. So people are probably going, well, that gives me some little truth to this. Why is he so, like, he's so adamant about, and so loud that it doesn't make sense. It's like, why are you defending yourself so strongly when you don't really need to? So maybe part of this must be true. Yeah. Kind of deal.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's kind of like, you over-defend yourself or do that sort of stuff. What are you hiding?
You go over. You don't need to scream. And someone that's innocent doesn't need to scream and yell. Yeah. You just say, listen, you're not telling me, you're not telling the truth. I don't know where your brain's not working. And you just laugh it off. Like, I don't know where you came up with this. Yeah. But, you're not going to just blow up instantly unless, you're trying to hide something.
Exactly. If the cops come up to you and go, excuse me, I need to speak to you, and you start running, well, you're not going to run if you're innocent, are you?
Exactly.
Yes. The only ones we haven't really mentioned are Carolyn and Tyler. Just quickly, I guess. I mean, anything to add on how they're playing the game at the moment?
Tyler seems really intelligent guy. He's going along. He's just like he's not ruffling any feathers. He's not doing a whole lot, but he's in now. I think he's in a good alliance. Has a chance to go far. I mean, he did win an immunity. He seemed like it as far as like the most calm and collected. He seems like it, and he listens to people, goes along. Kind of the same with Carolyn. She's smart. She is not going overboard and putting any targets on her back. She's a person that actually could probably win. I think she does if she just keeps all the right people with her, and she just she's doing all right.
Still got that idol, so
yes, that's what I'm saying. So she got an idol.
Yeah,
that's a huge plus especially towards the end. There's 8 now left or 7.
we're up to 8 left now, aren't we? Yeah, so
it's really that's when when you start to get. Hopefully, no one will have to play their idol at 8. Then better to play it at 7 because that's when the real 4 to 3 kind of thing going on. She's got that idol. She's got a good chance with. Does anyone know that she's got an idol either? I don't know.
No. Oh, no. Who had an idol at the beginning and they were told that? I think does Tyler know? I don't think
Tyler. Does Tyler know that she's got an idol? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm from memory.
Anyway, but I think she's pretty tight with Tyler. So, and those two are tight. I could see those two going towards the end.
Yeah, they've been close for a long time there. So we'll see. It'd be interesting to go. Tyler's obviously quietened down in terms of his edit recently, but I don't know. He's still something about him. I don't know.
Yeah, he's quieted down, but it's like it's one of those guys that's like so quiet he just ends up going to like a final 3 because he's not stirring up any trouble. He has no target on his back at any time, and no one ever brings up Carolyn's name either.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, Now it's like a target would be Mike, Shrin, and Dan probably would have a target next, and then or Rodney. So like all the people, all the characters that kind of stand out and have been like talking loudly, or the focus has been on other people besides Carolyn and Tyler. So that's the plus for them. It's a boring edit in the sense, and they kind of go along till the end, but it's it's how you get to the end. So
yeah, and could work for him. Who knows? We'll see how it plays out. Now, I've got some listener questions here, Troyzan, before we get into our final set. Now, as always, people can send in our listener questions to us on email, on Facebook, Twitter. Just check out us on social media to see who our recapper is each week. And got a few in this week. Thanks everyone who sent them in. I like this question. Ori Kohav says, whose behaviour is harder to tolerate, Will's or Colton's?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know Will personally, so and I know I probably can take Colton because actually in the game, Colton and I, we could talk. He never said anything bad about me. He never came across, even when he was saying all the derogatory things towards Bill, I wasn't even there, so I didn't know. At that point, that's a tough choice. That's a tough choice. I mean, I don't know, man. I think I probably could hang out with Will. I think, yeah.
Yeah, all right, we'll go with that. Now, Ori adds, you've been in Mike's shoes after Jay was voted out. Who seemed harder to sway, Sierra and Dan, or Tarzan and Christina?
Oh, Tarzan and Christina by far. Christina just was not, she just never thought that she was at the bottom, in a sense. So she's like, well, I'm just going to go with the flow. And I'm like, well, you're just going to get voted out. It's like you obviously could make a move right now and put yourself into like a top even 3 position, And she just wouldn't grasp it. She just didn't want to listen. She wanted to stick with Kim and the group. And she didn't see I don't know how she didn't see it, because she was never like in a top group, even when the girls were together. You know, they were going to vote her out on, like, you know, episode 2 or 3. So it was tough, because, you know, I just tried to convince her to, like, you know, and she just never seemed like she was quite grasping what I was saying, even though I was saying, like, it's 5 of you and 4 of them. Do you grasp how this works? Like, you know, it doesn't even matter if one of them win, you know, because you have 5 votes. You get this? Do you grasp this?
Yeah.
And she kind of looked at me like, like I was looking at this. And Troyzan was really hard, because I asked him the same thing. And once he switched over to the women, they promised to keep him around long enough to see his wife. And that's all that was on his mind for the last, you know, 10 days. That's it. So he was never going to come on my side, because if he came to me or on to, you know, to listen to me, he thought, well, there's a chance that, you know, he could get voted out and he wouldn't see his wife. So he wasn't playing to win at that point. So then that was almost impossible to it was virtually impossible to change somebody's mind, especially when they say, I'm only here to see my wife.
Yeah.
That's basically saying that, and you can't. I couldn't promise him that. I can't tell you what's going to happen. All I can say is it's you 5, and most likely your wife's coming in the next few days, so you can. But he didn't want to take that chance, so that was extremely difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks, Ari, for that. Now, RB Lugistrom, I always get your name mispronounced wrongly, RB. Sorry, but this question is hilarious. One of your hobbies is studying monkeys. Are you going to get together with Shirin and discuss the sexual exploits of howler monkeys?
I would love to do that. Come on, man. Shirin, maybe she'll take off her clothes and do it.
Now, I'd study monkeys if that happened.
We'll just all study monkeys. Yeah, she can study She can study my monkey. We can just have a monkey party.
Wow.
I don't think she really studies monkeys, but, you know, I truly do know monkeys, so it's like, but my expertise is more in marmosets, and I have worked with chimpanzees and orangutans quite a bit.
Right. Well, he's got a follow-up question there when he says, how would you rate her impersonation of howler monkeys mating?
Oh, it's 1. That's bad. It was bad. I mean, I can do a better impersonation than that. She her getting naked is a better impersonation of a monkey, really. And that's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. If you're gonna get naked, you don't take your body, you take your top and your bottom off.
Yes.
When you're taking off your body, leaving your top on. I've never.
Yeah, and then that whole
most women would be like, I'm going to take off my top and leave my bottoms on. It's like something got reversed in her driver.
She's very proud, Troyzan, of her bottom half, clearly.
I guess. I mean, it makes me very curious what this bottom half, you know, looks like. It looks like a howler monkey.
Wow, alrighty. Well, that's a good monkey talk there. Thanks, RB. Now, Zachary Chong asked a question. Now, I think he posted a similar question last week when we had Penner on the show. Before I ask this question, I'll give a bit of background on this question as well. We, at the start of this year, Troyzan, sat down and ranked every single Survivor player to have ever played Survivor, all 442 of you, and it took us 34 hours. Yes, we don't have anything better to do in our lives, apparently. So it got to your ranking, and the panel of us all came together, and we ranked you as the 84th best player in the history of Survivor. And Zachary Chong asked the question, how do you feel being ranked 84th in our rankings?
Well, I mean, that's not bad. 84 is not too bad. I mean, for a person that's only played once, I mean, I think you got to rank the top people that have played, you know, 2, 3, or 4 times. I mean, however many that is, and that's going to cover a certain amount. And then you go through each season, pick the top players in each season. So I guess 80. Well, I'm trying to think. If there's 30 seasons,
so you beat about 360 other players, Troyzan.
Yeah, I'd put it more of like I say like if you're going to take the top 2 players from each season, then that would be that means I should be up there and
a few bits high. Well, I will say
I should like by like 40 or something. But how many people like than once?
Oh, off the top of my head, probably about. I want to say about 50 or 60. It might be more though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you can put me right after that.
Okay.
I think, but I'll take 80 because I've heard worse. So I mean that's that's the top. That's a top what percentage? That's a good. Out of 400 some.
Top quarter, I think.
Okay.
So yeah. I will say though that in terms of the One World cast, you were 4th, if I'm just looking at this correctly.
Oh my God, really? 4th? I don't know if I put myself in 4th.
Well, so people who finished ahead of you from your cast, well actually you, in terms of you saying about returning players, you beat Colton and you beat Kat, but Monica finished 9 spots. Is that ahead of you there, if I'm doing my calculations correctly? Yes. Sabrina finished, so Monica came in 75th, Sabrina came in 49th, and Kim came in 2nd.
Of all time?
Of all time. She came in at number 2.
Okay, well.
I don't know if you were surprised that she wasn't number 1, or you're surprised she made it that high.
I'm shocked at that.
Well,
I don't see that, but that's whatever.
Okay. Okay. Don't want to get you into trouble now with Miss Wolf.
You're not going to get me into trouble. I mean, she knows that I don't think she's number 2. I mean, come on.
You were on last season with her. I wish she was kind of on the line right now. I could be getting you two to debate this on air. That would be fun.
Yeah, she would. She would lose. But I'm happy for her that that you guys ranked her 2. I mean, that's a plus. I'm hoping that I get a chance to improve my status at some point.
Well, I think we all want that to happen, Troyzan. But just looking here, you just beat out the legendary Elizabeth Filarski / Hasselback. She came in at 85th.
Okay, it's okay. I probably beat out some pretty good people. I mean,
yeah, you did. Scrolling through here quickly, who can I pull out here? You beat Sue Hawk.
Really? Okay.
Marty from Nicaragua, of course, he's one of those ones. He's always up there with you as a potential returnee. Ian Rosenberger, third place, from Palau. Yeah, there's a few pretty big names here that you did knock off. So the difficult task about it it sounds like a simple exercise, but as I said, it took us 34 freaking hours to do it, Troyzan, and we had the power of veto, so there was a panel of us, and if the majority didn't agree of the position, we could all say veto, and the person had to choose again. So look, again, as I said, we have nothing better to do with our lives, so we just spend a day and a half ranking you all on how you played the game.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I mean, things, and I have to kind of look realistically, people will say where did they place, in the show, and then that kind of makes a difference on how they think how they played. Although, I feel like sometimes people are better survivors than where they fit. Like Boston Rob, his first season, he didn't finish very well at all.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's
different. So in a lot of people's mind, Boston Rob's the best of all time.
Yeah, and it makes it difficult because, the thing is that, factoring in returning seasons and all this sort of stuff. The thing, I remember when we came to ranking Colton, he came, I think, at 290th or something, but, I argued that point because I felt he was a better player than that, not top 100, top 200, but, it seemed as though a lot of people were judging it based on his quit, and I was kind of trying to factor in One World, and there were other players along the lines that I was trying to sort of factor in certain reasons. And again, what makes it difficult is that we all have our, personal top 10s, and it was never going to be that way. And also, too, we've made some friends from this show. And, of course, when it comes to ranking these people who you've made a personal connection with, you're like, well, hang on a minute. In terms of them as a person, they're a great person. But, as a player,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard, too, because, some people that do get to play twice or three times, you can judge them again on their play, where you don't get a chance to judge a person that only played once, that could be like Elizabeth.
Exactly.
What I'm saying, or someone that was really good, played one time.
Yeah. For the record, the top 5, if you look at our top... So, Sandra took number 1 spot. So, out of our top 5, actually, the only multiple player was Sandra. So, Kim was second. Tony somehow made it third, although I like that. Todd...
Yeah, Tony is good.
Todd from China 4, and Earl. I was so happy that Earl from Fiji made it to number 5. So, it was a lot of fun. And I actually got a very interesting email this week from one of our listeners, sort of going into a lot of detail about what we did wrong and how we should do it. But at the end of the day, it was a fun project, and it caused debate. And then we get Zachary sending in a question that we can ask you on air. So that's all that matters, Troy.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people do make lists like that.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own opinion of who and why someone is a good Survivor player. Some people think that they're good because they're memorable, and maybe they weren't that good as far as strategy or whatever, or maybe someone won, they didn't find one idol, but they just breezed their way through and they won, and they're like, hey, that's what's strategic, so people will say that. So it's just one of those things, people might say Ozzy he's the best that ever played, but he didn't win. You know what I'm saying? So the other way, no, I'm only going to pump Ozzy way down because he didn't win, and but I just saw him 3 times. So it's like everyone has it's so, there's no set, there's no set parameters where it's like, okay, how many idols did someone find? How many immunities did someone win? How many, how many times did they switch to positions to where they put them in a better position?
Yeah.
How many people flip to do this? And, so it's like what makes someone, really the best,
This is the beauty of this show, Survivor. At the end of the day, you can debate it and talk about it and just have all these millions of arguments, and really, there's no right or wrong answer at the end of the day. So that's what.
Yeah, there's some luck involved in it too. Though to me, luck doesn't make you good, and that's where I would argue with Kim.
We needed you on this show, then, Troyzan.
When we were in separate tribes, and they brought us together, and we broke eggs on each other, and we had to then switch tribes. When I switched, I now had no one in my alliance. They all went to the other tribe. Kim lost no one, so she didn't have to do anything. That was pure luck. So so if you're lucky in that, how is that strategic, and how is that merit you as wow, what a great move? What if Kim went off and had no one? Kim might have went home.
So those what if scenarios, Troyzan. We love.
I'm just saying. That's luck. And that's not. And people are like, oh, that's Troyzan being a poor sport. No, it's not. I'm just saying. If it would have been luck towards my side, I would have said, listen, I got lucky. Mm-hmm. It was luck. It was luck that Courtney broke her wrist, and we didn't have to go to tribal council. We didn't have to finish the thing. That's luck. That's not strategy. That's no, that's not, the only strategy is that we're smart enough to say, listen, we're in this game to win, and we're not going to tribal council, and none of us are getting voted out. That's smart.
Fascinating indeed. Thanks everyone who sent the questions in. As always, Troyzan, you've done a lot of our recaps. We wrap it up with a few questions to close it out. Now, just looking over your past predictions. Now, you joined us for the very first episode of Philippines. Wow, fresh off your season there. That was a difficult one to predict. You said Malcolm would win that season. Well, we got close. Your dark horse was Dawson. Not exactly close.
Yeah, not even close.
You said next to go was Lisa. She was kind of the runner-up. And you said you were most similar to Scoopin. I can see that. You also joined us during Blood vs. Water, where your tip to win was either Monica or Tyson. That was very good, because they obviously both made the final tribal. You said Hayden is a dark horse, and you were most similar to Tyson and Brad. And last season, of course, I said you're on with Kim. You said that Josh or Missy would win. Missy made it to the end, so not too bad. Your dark horse was Alec. Didn't quite make it that far. And you were most similar to Keith. Wow. That would be a great alliance. You and Keith. I want to see that happen. Tarzan and Keith. How would that be for an alliance?
Oh, that'd be classic.
Best final two ever.
I would like to hear that conversation. Saying that.
Yes. You just imagine Keith going, I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah. Spitting.
Yes. Alrighty. Troyzan, who'd you tip to win Survivor Worlds Apart?
I'm going to go with Carolyn.
Carolyn. I can see it. Dark Horse. Who's your Dark Horse to sneak through?
Mike.
Who is going next week? Who's voted out?
Who's voted out? Shirin.
Now, this is a unique question for this season and this season only. If you were on Survivor Worlds Apart, Troyzan, would you be on white collar, no collar, or blue collar?
Oh, and no collar, 100%.
I didn't even really ask that one. I think we could, answer that one. How is the old swimsuit photography going? Must be a hard life still.
It's going pretty good. It's like I actually may be coming to Sydney, Australia in the summer.
There you
go. A guy wants me to come down and shoot some swimsuit stuff down there. So I'm like, I love Australia, so I might be down close to you.
Let us know. It's. I mean, look, I think I say this to you every time we've got you on the show, Troyzan. But what a hard career. I imagine you struggle to get out of bed in the morning. Bloody hell! I've got to stare at women in bikinis all day.
Yeah, it is a tough life, but there's a few of us that have to get up and really struggle with it.
Yeah. Oh no! Look. One day you might get a better profession, Troyzan.
Yeah. Who knows?
Final question. Now, again, this doesn't have to be people who are left in the game. It can be anybody who has played on this season. Which player on Survivor Worlds Apart do you feel you are most similar to?
I would have to say I'm an older Joe, for sure.
An older Joe? I can see that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an older Joe, 100%.
There you go. Wow, I like it. Perfect way to end it. Troyzan, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. We love having you here on the show. Best of luck for everything. And I always have to say it at the end of all these episodes. We hope to see you not only on Survivor Oz again one time in the future, but on bloody Survivor. Make it happen, CBS.
I'll try my best, buddy. Keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. It's always been a good conversation with you, and say hi to all the folks down there in Oz.
And there we go, Troyzan Robertson, Survivor One World contestant. And look, it's always interesting, I think, having him on in terms of putting out there the potential to return for seasons, because I guess I should warn you quickly, spoiler alert, if you're avoiding future season casting, because of course the big rumour circulating, which is all but confirmed, is that season 31 or 32 will be entirely all-stars, and that it will be put to a public vote. And Troyzan is on that list of 40 of the supposed people who are going to be voted for to return. So, look, I'd love to flat out ask him if he's on that list, but I think when we brought up before about CBS and being sued, could quite possibly cost him. But look, if this is to be a public vote, we're sure that there will be kind of a period of voting where they will be able to campaign to return. So, look, who knows? We could have Troyzan on in a couple of weeks. He could be coming on to campaign. So, keep your eyes out if it's true. And if you didn't want to be spoiled and you didn't tune out, Oops, sorry, we did warn you. We'll be back next week, of course, for another Worlds Apart recap episode. In terms of who's on, now, look, we always kind of try and give you a rough idea. And obviously Colin, who I will say once again, thank you very much for Colin filling in my shoes when I've been away to do these. He often can't say who's going to be on because sometimes the schedule is it's almost a floating schedule. We have our list of people who we line up to be on the episodes, and we loosely lock them in for each week. But at the end of the day, changes, of course, and you can imagine that it can change at the last minute. But as of right now, the day that we are recording this recap, I can say that we do have lined up for episode 11 Ethan Zahn from Survivor Africa and All Stars. Now, look, again, can change. But as of right now, that is who is there. But stay tuned to our social media, Facebook and Twitter. Perfect segue for you to get involved in those if you don't already follow us on those services. And we usually post that up, obviously, a couple of days before we do that so you can get your questions in. But hopefully it will be Ethan, because Ethan has been very generous with his time in the last 12 or so months. Has been on the show a couple of times, which is fantastic. And always very entertaining to have him on the show. So watch this space. We've still had some other great people coming up for the remainder of this season for recaps. We're trying to lock down one player, a former winner, I will say, that has only appeared on this show once. And I will say it's a she. And look, we nearly had her for last week, and we are hoping that she will return, possibly for the finale. But again, it all comes down to scheduling and everything along those lines. So yes, I've just teased you enough there for you to come up with ideas of potentially who that could be coming back on the show. Oz Topsy for episode 10 is already online. If you haven't already checked that out, downloaded it, or want to some reason stare and watch my ugly face for about an hour and a half, head to survivoroz.com. You will see it on there, and that will be back next week live as well. In terms of other things that are happening, I keep teasing you about the Oscars. We are preparing to get that out this weekend in terms of the official announcement, in terms of what awards will be on offer this year, and then of course generally the opening, the voting for the opening round will happen on the day of the finale. And we'll have 2 periods once again of that. But more details of the Oscars will be announced. Always our biggest event of the year, and very much looking forward to bringing them back to you. Outside of the Oscars, just a shameless plug for a couple of other things that are related to Survivor Oz. Of course, our spin-off shows are doing great guns. The Amazing Race Oz, hosted by Noah Groves, will be back again. We just posted the recap for episodes 7 and 8, I believe they're up to now, The Amazing Race, and that is online for you to listen to, and Alex Morella's fantastic written recap, that is online. And of course, our latest addition to the Oz family, Eurovision. Now, for all our Americans and Canadians and other people who have no idea what the fuck Eurovision is, well, you're not going to be into it at all, but for all of you Aussies and Europeans and New Zealanders and every other part of the world that likes Eurovision, check it out, because the 60th anniversary of the Eurovision Song Contest is happening in only a few weeks' time, and we've started this up. It's a completely separate entity. We're not posting any of it up on survivoroz.com. Have a separate website, separate page, separate Twitter feed, separate feed on iTunes, and yeah, we had our first episode during the week, and we'll be recording a few more on the weekend. We'll also be recording a few more commentaries. Survivor All-Stars we're up to, so stay tuned for those. And I mentioned Alex Morella's fantastic written recap. I never usually take time out of these episodes to commend Clifton Gibbons, our recap extraordinaire writer. He does a magnificent work in typing up what happens in the episode, and if you've downloaded this episode via our website, you would have seen it. If you've downloaded us via Stitcher or iTunes or any of those services, highly recommend visiting survivoroz.com. You can click on the recap, read Clifton's written assessment of it. There'll be personal opinions from myself and the Ozlets on what we think of the episodes. We'll also update you on how our sweep's going for our team here at Survivor Oz, and of course Jeff's sexual innuendo and the best of Twitter happening as well. I'd just like to point out a special message. Be nice out there on Twitter, folks. A lot of ugly messages being circulated around, not only this week but this season in general. It's certainly turned into a a bit of a disappointing reaction season from the fans. There's been certain things that have happened which have been blown way out of proportion, and I'm not speaking just from personal experience either from this show, from certain things that have happened previously in this season, but reading some of the comments online directed towards Will after what happened, including just some things that are said that, look, it's beyond disgusting, and it's a shame to see that. As a Survivor fan, listening to this, I'm sure you all have very strong opinions about things, and fair enough, you're entitled to share them. But just like Will did in stepping over a line in what he was saying to Shireen, there's a line that people are crossing on social media in their comments towards Will. And as we said in the old Stopsy, two wrongs don't make a right. Two dongs now. I'm really screwing this up, aren't I? Two wrongs don't make a right. And just be nice. The world would be a better place if we were all just nice to each other. So that's Ben Waterworth's Words of Wisdom 101, featuring loads of crap, apparently. We will be back next week, as I said, with another recap. I've plugged SurvivorOz.com enough, and Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, so I don't need to plug it again. But as always, we do appreciate your support of the show, whether you're a first-time listener, you're a subscriber, you listen to us all the time. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. We always appreciate your comments, your feedback, your messages. We read them all. We try to respond to them all where we can. Obviously, a lot of the comments sometimes on our Facebook page and social media, we don't necessarily comment. We get lots of comments on our website, which we do reply to sometimes, and we still appreciate them. Negative, positive, in between, don't give a shit, whatever. And we've been getting some messages recently too from people who have never messaged into us before, and letting us know their thoughts on things. So yeah, always great. Love doing this, and we are around forever. We're not going anywhere, and we hope you won't go anywhere as well. But that's it for this recap. Thanks to Troyzan for giving us his time. In the meantime, time to close it out with My Name is Ben. This has been Survivor Oz, a Tribe has spoken, and we will speak to you next time on The Trains.